few minutes, just kind of hear about what we've been doing the last 2 years. Yeah, I don't do a lot of public speaking, but I have heard that one of the rules of public speaking is to know your audience. And I've kind of broken that rule today because I know in the last 2 years, man, there's a lot of new faces at InfoSystems. So, in the couple of times I've been here the last week or two, met a lot of new people. So, I know most of you, but there's a number of you here that I don't know. Well, this is our family. This was taken on a very, very cold day in downtown Budapest, Hungary. And I wish they could all be here this morning, but we're kind of all scattered around. As you can imagine, our time here back in the States is coming to a close again. So my wife's out of state today, and the kids are scattered abroad different places, so you just have me. So, I thought I would take just a brief second, and most of you know about the map division and the history of it, but I didn't want to assume that everybody knows about it. So I wanted to just take just a minute or two and kind of go over the history of the map division here at InfoSystems. And I've been using this Google Nexus 7 tablet for the last couple of weeks. And I've asked a couple of people, as I've been showing it to them, I said, you know what the word Nexus means? And I get answers from, a line of hair care products to a really nice car. Nobody really knows what the word Nexus means. And I've got a really nice, shiny Hungarian 200 forint coin for somebody that can tell me a good definition of the word Nexus. I'll give you a hint now. Teresa.
Things that you have, where it's located next to what countries are in conjunction with it.
Okay. You mean a little more.
It's a connection or series of connections linking two or more places or things.
You were asking the wrong word.
Mute.
I didn't read that out of a dictionary.
No, or on Google, right?
I was say portal.
Who was that?
Glenn.
Glenn. I don't even know Glenn. Teresa, that's close. I'll give you the Steve. I trust you to hand that to Teresa.
Give me a virtual one.
Yeah,
virtual.
A virtual 200 forint. Yeah, this is the definition I'm going to use this morning. It's a means of connection between members of a group or things in a series. It's a link, and that's kind of what I'm going to center on. It's a link. It's a bond that things have together, the way things are connected. And I kind of wanted to just briefly talk about the nexus, the links of how the map division InfoSystems came into being and where it is today. Because if you're new to the company, you may not know about the history. And if you've been here a long time, you may just be wondering, do we even still have a map division? What's going on with it? Well, as I mentioned a couple of years ago, right before we left to go to Hungary, in my mind, the map division started in 1995 with a guy named Ed Robinson. And I won't tell you the whole story of Ed, but Ed sent a letter to Clay one day. He was a guy living here in Chattanooga. He had a lot of physical challenges. His mom was taking care of him. He was homebound all the time, and he did all of his work, and Clay was on his computer, and his computer quit working one day. He couldn't get anybody to come help him. He had a couple of people in town come and try to help him, and they wanted to charge him a lot of money. He just didn't have that. He sent a letter to Clay. I think we found our name out of the phone book, I'm guessing, because we didn't know who he was before. And he asked, is there any way your company can help me? So 2 of us went out to Ed's place just to see what we could do. We spent maybe a half hour there, not long. He didn't have any real serious problems with his computer. We got it working for him. To him, that was a huge deal. I mean, it really was a lifesaver for him. And over the next few months, he would call us for other things, and sometimes it was a pain to deal with him. But usually, Ed was a likable guy, and so we liked going out there and helping him. After about 2 years, Ed passed away. He had a lot of health problems. Ed passed away, and his mom called me and told me what had happened. And I went to his funeral. He's buried down at the National Cemetery downtown. And when I got down there, it was his mom, I think maybe a cousin, and maybe an uncle, and that was it. I mean, that was the only people in the world that came to Ed's funeral besides me. And I thought, you know, I was kind of saddened by that. Obviously, I would hope that there'd be more than 3 people, you know, at my funeral. But then it reminded me of how important Ed's computer was to him. That was his life. That was his gateway to the rest of the world. And he was so appreciative of things that we had done for him. It was things that he could not do for himself. And so I was really happy that we were able to play a small part in what was so important to Ed. Well, a couple of years later, 2 of our employees were going on a missions trip to West Africa. They asked me if I wanted to go along with them, and I'm always up for a field trip anywhere, so I went with them. Had nothing to do with computers or technology. We helped put a roof on a church in the Ivory Coast. And when we got back from that trip, I thought, you know, that was pretty cool. There were, you know, 3 of us, we were friends, we were co-workers also. And we got to go to another part of the world and do some really important work that had nothing to do with what any of us usually did here at the office 5 days a week. And I thought, is there a way that we can maybe do more of this as a company and make this just a small ministry arm of InfoSystems? So I started looking for opportunities for us to do that. Over the next 5 years, we took about 20 people from InfoSystems to 12, 13, 14 different countries around the world. Usually it was technology related, but not always. Sometimes it was helping out in a medical clinic. Sometimes it was construction stuff. Usually it was technology based. You'll see in a lot of these the country of Hungary mentioned numerous times, and so you can kind of see that link starting to form as far as how we ultimately ended up in Hungary full time. 2005, Clay and I were having breakfast one morning out at the Waffle House out on Highway 58, and I said, Clay, you know, we've been doing all these trips. They're usually a week or so. You know, what if somebody someday asked us to do something more long term? You know, 8 or 9 months. You know, is that something we'd even want to do? Is it something we could do? And you know, so, well, we'll talk about it if it ever happens. Yeah, we'll do what we can. The next day, I was talking with a friend of mine in Hungary. We were working on a project for the Ukraine, and he's getting ready to hang up the phone. He said, "Oh, by the way, next year I'm coming back to the States. We're gonna be in the States for 8 or 9 months. Is there any way you guys could send somebody over here for a longer period of time, like 8 or 9 months, to help me get some things done while I'm gone?" And of course, I remember the conversation we had the day before, and I'm realizing also that this wasn't a coincidence. You know, that this is something we needed to consider. So Clay and I, we discussed it for a number of weeks and worked out a plan for us, for my family to be able to go over there for 9 months and fill in as short-term missionaries there. We came back from that in April 2006. Next couple of years, did some more trips from the company. And in 2010 is when our family moved full-time over to Budapest, Hungary. So covers a lot of years, a lot of miles, a lot of different people in the company. It's been a really cool history. I think it's a really neat part of the company that not everybody gets to see. Hopefully, more will get to experience it over the next couple of years. But that's kind of the nexus of the MAP division at InfoSystems. We started in Budapest, Hungary with this organization, Association of Baptists for World Evangelism. A lot of those trips that were listed there were connected with that agency. Not just that agency, but they were one of the primary ones that we did work for in Central and Eastern Europe. Just to kind of give you a brief look at my family, just so you know who we are as a family. We have 5 kids, 2 girls, 3 boys. These are our 2 daughters. They're 9 and 12. Mary Beth's on the left there with her best friend in the world now in Budapest, a girl that's from Kenya. And they actually thoroughly enjoy living over there. Our boys, Grant's 16, he'll be a junior in high school this next year. Tyler just graduated from high school in Hungary. And our old son, Brian, who's engaged now. I don't know if you knew that. He'll be getting married next year. Grant and Tyler have been going to an international Christian school just outside of Budapest, and have really enjoyed living there. But that was one of the biggest challenges to us as a family moving over, was our two boys. Taking them out of this country into a new country, new language, new friends, new school, new everything, while they're in high school. I knew that would be difficult for them. I wouldn't want to do it. We moved when my older sister was a senior in high school, and that was not a fun experience for her. So I was really burdened for our sons when we moved over, that this would be a good learning experience for them, but they would have also just a good attitude about going. They've done really, really well. So much so that Tyler, when we were getting ready to fly back, I was buying my tickets for us to come back this summer. And Tyler said, I think I want to stay in Hungary for another 2 months. I said, really? Yeah, I said, this is really going to be my last time living over here. I want to, get the most out of it that I can. I'm thinking, all right, he's wanting to backpack through Europe or something. And he said, no, I want to work with the Hungarian youth ministry here in the southwest part of the country, the month of July. I want to work in some camps down there with Hungarian youth. And I said, absolutely, man, that'd be great. I miss seeing you for the summer. It's kind of one of the reasons we came back, was to get him transitioned into college. But he just got back Monday night, had a wonderful 6 weeks of ministry in Hungary while we were over here. Just kind of give you an idea of the geography of where we live. Different maps split up Europe different ways, Western, Central, and Eastern. We really consider Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Croatia, these areas, Central Europe, and that's where our focus is and our ministry focus is. The team that we're connected with ABWE, covers all of Central and Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. My main responsibility right now with them is as a sub-region coordinator for Central Europe. So I get to work with missionaries and teams all over Central Europe, and that box kind of borders, where we usually spend most of our time. But in the last 18 months, we've been able to travel and minister in a bunch of different places throughout Central Europe. So it's been a busy 18 months, but we've really enjoyed having the opportunity to serve all over Central and Eastern Europe. So I get asked all the time, especially from folks at our church, what is it exactly that you do over there? And the short answer is it changes frequently. My role with our organization is really designed to be fluid and flexible, so that I can focus time and effort on different projects as they need them, or different teams as I need them. So my schedule and my job description can and does change probably every 3 to 6 months. But in a nutshell, we have three areas that we spend our time in right now, which is regional leadership with our mission agency, local Hungarian ministry, and then language acquisition. So regionally, like I mentioned, I work with our teams throughout all Central Europe. Right now, I'm an interim team leader for 2 of those countries. So besides us living in Hungary, I head up a team in Slovakia and a team in Czech Republic as well. I'm a resource to all of our Central European teams, so whatever help or assistance they need in different ministries there, I'm their first line of help. So I'm frequently working on different things in different parts of the region. And then I serve on this vision team. That's this group of people down here in the bottom right hand corner. And we are charged with being responsible for guiding the direction of all of our ministries in Central and Eastern Europe with our organization. So we're doing a lot of forward-looking to the future with ways that our families are going to be serving in our region. Local Hungarian ministry. This is a really I mean, I enjoy everything I do there, but this is probably one of the more fun things that I get to do, primarily because I get to do it with our family, and most of the time with my wife Debbie. On Monday nights, we teach English to Hungarians at one of the small local churches in our town. Learning English is really a popular thing. It's really important because Hungarians, Hungary's in pretty rough shape financially. We hear about Greece and their troubles a lot in the news. Hungary is right behind them. Their economy and their financial status as a country is pretty bad. And so most Hungarians live on a pretty minimal amount of money. But if they know English, living in Budapest, it's a touristy kind of area. And so if they know English, their job prospects are multiplied many times. So there's a lot of people that are really anxious to learn English for that reason. We have folks in our English class from teenagers to grandparents, and they come back year after year. We have them all throughout the year except for the summertime months. So we've been able to get to know and build relationships with a lot of Hungarians that way, and we really enjoy that. Our kids get to be a part of that too, depending on their schoolwork and school loads during any given week, but they come and help us out, and so it's really something that we get to do as a family. On the right is my wife Debbie and a Hungarian friend of hers. Her name is Barbara. Barbara is a kindergarten teacher at one of the local Hungarian schools. Barbara, she wants to learn English better, and she's doing really well, but she also has a real curiosity about God. She doesn't know much about anything having to do with God. She was a friend of one of our teammates many years ago, and this teammate of ours was just starting to teach her English, and Barbara didn't want to have anything to do about talking about anything related to the church or God. And so Ruth is our teammate. Ruth, respected that and just taught her English. A couple of years later, she kind of got handed off to another teammate and friend of ours, and she spent a couple of years with her. And now she's in our life, and she comes over to our house a couple of days a week. Debbie and her developed a really special friendship. But Barbara is now becoming more and more receptive to things about God. So we're kind of excited to see where that goes. On the left is the International Christian School Budapest, which is where my two boys go to school and where a number of folks from InfoSystems have helped over the years. This school has really grown. It started out back in 1994 with just this little bitty building up here in the corner. In the last 10 years, they've added these two expansions to it. And InfoSystems has been really an integral part of the development of this school from a technology standpoint. We put in their first networks. A lot of guys came over and helped do cabling. We've done all sorts of projects for this school. And back then, when we were doing that, I never imagined, that my kids would be going to this school and really reaping the benefits out of InfoSystems' investment in it. Not just in manpower, but a lot of money. InfoSystems has put a lot of money into this school, and it is really a show place. Hungarian schools, as you can probably imagine, aren't showrooms for education. But this school is doing a fantastic job. It really is an international school. There's kids from 16 different countries this past year to go to school there, K through 12, about 260 kids. And I'm proud of what InfoSystems has done over the years. They really have been one of the keystones in making the school successful. Third area, language acquisition. 3 mornings a week, I spend about 3 hours in downtown Budapest trying to figure out words like this. Hungarian, if you're an English speaker, you all are, but if you're an English speaker, Hungarian is one of the 5 hardest languages in the world to learn. And you kind of see why. They have words that just go on and on and on forever. They tack on suffixes to everything, so that one word is really a sentence or a phrase or a whole thought or idea. And so reading it is one thing. To hear it and then try to parse that in your mind quickly, it is a real challenge, especially as one gets older. I'm in a class. I will be in a class in the fall with probably 4 or 5 folks that I've studied with before. They're all 20-somethings learning Hungarian as their 4th language. And they pick it up. And it's sickening. But it's very challenging, and I'm not going to be beaten by these young punks. So I really do enjoy it. It's terribly frustrating. I come home about noon, and I'm just exhausted mentally, and Debbie just kind of laughs at me, and I say, I'm not going to let them beat me. I'm going to figure this out, at least to some extent. But we work hard at learning the language because we live in their country, and I should learn their language. I have a whole new perspective on that. When I went into Walmart 5 years ago, and somebody in the line was holding up progress because they didn't speak English, and the cashier couldn't figure out what they're saying, that was very frustrating to me. I'm that guy now. I'm hungry. I've got people behind me, and they're probably getting frustrated at me. I live in Hungary. I need to learn their language. It's not the most romantic sounding language, but I'm working really hard at it.
What's that last word on that pad?
This one?
Yeah.
Különlegesség. That's a nice 8-syllable word.
What does that mean?
I took this picture at McDonald's. Yeah, the cafe. This was on the tray, and I was getting ready to go to my class. Stopped in, got a breakfast muffin or something, and they put that on the tray. And I thought, how in the world am I ever going to learn what this says? And basically, it says taste the fresh ground 100% Arabica grains from the coffee that we made, and then this word all that means is our specialties.
Okay.
That's all that means.
It's an 8-syllable.
Yeah, an 8-syllable word for our specialties.
Cream.
Kulun is special. Különleges is specialty. The K makes it a plural. This part makes it third person possessive plural. So it's our specialties, and because it's the subject of the sentence, it gets a little ET at the end there. So it's just
A piece of cake.
yeah, a piece of cake. I don't know if I could say
I got
piece
it
of
now.
cake, but yeah.
I got it now.
You got it now? All right, there'll be a test. Flat white, I can figure that out. That first one over on this truck, I can't remember what the rest of that one said, but it basically said we're the top level air conditioning provider.
Okay. All in one word.
All in one word, yeah. So, I don't want to take a whole lot of your time this morning. I didn't want to really dive too deep on the map stuff, and I just kind of want to give you a brief overview of what we're doing in Hungary, but usually that'll spur on just some questions maybe about life there or our ministry there or anything about that part of the country. If you got any questions at all that I can give you a better idea of what our life is like there.
What's the speed limit?
What's the speed limit? That's a good question. I have found that out the hard way. In Budapest, there's 4 major arteries that come out of it to 4 other different countries, and on those 4 main interstates, it's 130 kilometers, so about 70, 78, so roughly 80 on those, but it drops dramatically when you get off those roads down to 35 miles an hour or so around the town. So, we had to take a trip up to Germany a year ago, February. Now, I'd never driven in Germany, and man, I mean, as soon as you cross the border and you're on the Autobahn, I'm driving my 2000 Plymouth Caravan, with 100,000 miles. I mean, as soon as we crossed into Germany, zip, 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 they're flying by me, and every third car is a BMW, and then a Mercedes, and then an Audi, zip, 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 zip. They fly up there. It's incredible. So if you like to drive fast, that's the place to go. Dan.
Yeah, I think you said you have like.
Don't ask me a history question, because I know you know the answer, so you're just trying to
the
fool
German
me.
bomb moved it. You said you have people from like 15 or 16 countries in the school. What are the predominant countries, and how do they find their way to your school?
Most of them are there as their parents are international business people. You know, Budapest is a really good centralized hub of Central Europe, so there's a lot of big businesses that have at least regional headquarters there. I mean, IBM's got a huge place there. Deloitte has a huge place there. HP, all the big names, you know, that we have in the States, they've got headquarters in Budapest as well. Since it's also the capital, there's a lot of embassy families that are there from different countries. Most of the ones that have international kids at the school are probably business people. The school's on the expensive side for if you're not a kid of a missionary, or if you're not Hungarian, it's pretty expensive to go there. So yeah, most of those families are there for business reasons, and predominantly Asian. A lot from South Korea, China, Malaysia.
In the school?
Yeah, in the school.
Really?
Yeah. Teachers are all, the teachers are probably 95% American. There are a few Hungarians that are there and teach, but most of the teachers come over from the States. But yeah, the kids are from all over Asia and Europe as well. It's an interesting experience. I mean, I'm at the school a number of times a week because I get to serve on the school board as well, which is also a really fascinating experience. So I get to know a lot of the kids and know almost all the teachers, and it's really interesting to walk in around lunchtime, and there's a foosball table at the end of the cafeteria, and you'll go down, these kids will all be playing foosball, and 6 of them on there, and 5 of them can't understand each other because they speak their native language whenever they get a chance. But they're having fun together, and it's a neat environment to see kids learn.
Is Debbie mastered making goulash yet?
She just about mastered that before we went, because she got to go on a lot of those trips before, and so she picked up a lot of Hungarian recipes from before. Yeah, what she has mastered now is cooking just about everything from scratch, because either it's stuff that we can't get there, or stuff that's real expensive because it's shipped over from the States. So yeah, she's gotten really good at cooking from scratch, and we get a lot of good Hungarian meals and desserts. The food is good. It's not, you think of Hungary as being an unknown place for food, but the food's pretty good. And Doug, you've been to Hungary, right? You went to Ukraine with me.
Yeah, we went to Ukraine.
Dan's been there, and Aaron's been there, and it's not crazy food. It's good food. Ukraine's crazy food. Yeah. Any other questions or something you're just curious about?
How was the currency breakdown from American dollars to?
That's a good question. Hungary is a part of the EU, but they're not on the euro. In order for a country to be able to transition to the euro, they have to maintain 2 years worth of stability in all kinds of different facets of their economy, and Hungary just can't do that. They're in such bad shape that they're continually dropping out of that good zone that they have to stay in. So they're always starting over. So the joke in Hungary, when are we going to be on the euro? 2 years. Because they're always starting over. They'll go for a couple of months and back to the beginning. So it's always 2 years from now. They're on the forint, the Hungarian forint, F-O-R-I-N-T. The exchange rate when we moved there 2 years ago was about 200 forint to the dollar. 6 months after we got there, it dropped to almost 160. So, in other words, our dollar bought a whole lot less Hungarian forint. Prices are always going up. Right now, it kind of works in our favor because it's a two-sided coin, no pun intended. The dollar is a little bit stronger, and the Hungarian forint is a whole lot weaker. So right now, it's like 230, 235. That helps us living there, but it's hard for Hungarian. I mean, their wages, stay stable or drop. Their prices go up on everything, and then their currency is just very unstable. So it's tough living there.
When you're traveling into these other countries and you're on euro, what kind of trade exchange do you get on that?
Well, right now the euro is like 125 to the dollar. It's kind of an interesting little group of countries because even though they're all in the euro, a lot of them they're all in the EU. A lot of them haven't gone to the euro yet. Slovakia has, but Czech Republic hasn't. They still have their own currency. Poland still has their own currency. Croatia, I believe, still has their own currency. Ukraine still has their own currency. So I literally have this little box at my house with envelopes, and as I come back from these countries, I stick their currency in the envelope, and next time I go out, I go back and pull that envelope out and get some currency wherever we're going. So it's like a little mini bank there. But yeah, it's hard to keep track of how much you're getting for your money. I mean, I either tip really well or I offend a lot of people. I'm never quite sure.
Probably both.
Probably both. Yeah, probably both.
What's the breakdown? I mean, as far as like, Baptist, Christian, or Catholic? I mean, what's the predominant faith there?
Good question. That also varies wildly between the countries that surround Hungary. Hungary's predominantly Roman Catholic, probably 65 to 70%. But even of those 65 or 70%, most of those don't even practice that religion. Churches are pretty well empty and cold. In Hungary, there's probably 2% that would consider themselves Protestant or evangelical Christians, which would encompass everything from Baptist to Methodist to Lutheran, all of those. Poland is probably 95% Roman Catholic, and most of them practice that as their religion. Czech Republic is about 70% atheist. That's right in between. from Hungary to Poland, you got to go through Czech Republic, and it's just wildly different in their beliefs and their cultures. And, once you get over into Ukraine, Romania, Eastern Europe, then it's going to be more Orthodox Catholic, some Greek Orthodox. Yeah, it's wildly different from country to country.
So what do you and your family miss the most about being in the States?
What do we miss the most? Well, the obvious ones are family and friends. It wasn't the easiest thing leaving our oldest son here. We always envisioned him going off to school, not us leaving him and us going somewhere else. Yeah, us going off. So yeah, family and friends. It's been a big benefit of ours to have lived there, even just for that 8 or 9 month period of time. That really gave us a good insight into what it was going to be like moving there. We got to understand what housing was like and getting around and grocery shopping and all that kind of stuff. So we weren't going into it as blindly as someone just moving there for the first time. And technology makes a huge difference. It's so much better than it was even 5 or 10 years ago. Internet service is dependable there now, which it wasn't when we lived there before even. So yeah, we utilize Skype and TiVo a lot. So we're not living without some basic functionality. So it's not as hard as you might imagine. But yeah, we're family, friends. We miss our church. I really do miss what I did here at InfoSystems. I don't cry over at night, but I miss doing that. I love what I did here. So
he misses those.
I don't miss the
all-night
calls.
upgrades
Yeah,
on
those I don't miss.
The old original AI systems, R6000.
Yeah, we're still repairing some of those.
While you're here,
I make good notes.
passwords from your
3.1 to 3.2 upgrade. Those were a week long.
But before we started here today, they told me I had a phone call, I pick up the phone, and somehow this company still has my name connected, and it was a telemarketer for selling old IBM stuff.
Oh, does it really? That's hilarious.
I've been in the building 5 minutes, and they found me.
Actually, that's what we do, is we tell them that Joel's in
Call
charge of
Joel's
that.
here, yeah.
No, so we send
Joel's
them
here.
all.
Hold on just a moment.
They send you to his voicemail.
Like Jimmy, he gets a lot of calls.
Jimmy.
He does.
Me and Jimmy, right?
All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had to share today. Other than just to say thank you. Even though it's been a number of years since the MAP division really got started, and you may think if you've been here a while that was kind of the heyday of the MAP division. It's still going strong, and it's not just me. It's that nexus. Now we've got a school over there, that's providing tremendous education for kids. We've got technology that we put in different ministries' offices over there that allows them to do things that they weren't capable of doing 5 years ago. We get to live over there and be a part of that every day, but InfoSystems has had a tremendous impact on ministry and families in a number of different countries in Central and Eastern Europe. So, I'm telling you, thank you for them. And if it hadn't been for Clay, for InfoSystems, for the investment, both in people and in finances, those things may not have gotten accomplished. There are other businesses in Chattanooga, that do invest time and energy and resources into other avenues like this. Most of them, like InfoSystems, you're not going to hear about that part of the business. It's not a part that they publicly, parade and brag about. But I know InfoSystems is on the top of the curve when it comes to companies in Chattanooga that have always kept that as an important part of their business plan. So, thank you.
Was that when you did that initial wireless thing? Or was that someplace else?
No, that was actually in our ABWE's regional office. That was, I think, who went over on that trip? It was Todd and I think Mike.
Yeah, probably.
It was Todd
It's
and
kind
Mike.
of funny because I'm sitting here one day and he finally could get that wireless thing, and it was what, a mile and a half or so.
Yeah, that was probably in like 2003. I mean, when even wireless was just kind of, a new technology was being used. And we got a call to see if we could help them get internet at a guest house for missionaries. It was about 3/4 of a mile away from this office, and there was no internet service available. It was literally on the other side of a railroad track, and so the company didn't go on the other side of the tracks.
On the wrong side of the track.
Yeah, you couldn't get dial-up, you couldn't get anything there, and we had a very low-level DSL connection at our office. And so we thought, well, what about wireless? Is there any way we can shoot a wireless signal 3/4 of a mile away? And so we looked at some equipment that could do that. We looked at those antennas, look like Pringles cans, and we set it up at the offices over on South Access Road. I set the one end up in my office window, and then I got a UPS to power it and a little power strip, and plugged all the stuff in. I put it in my car and drove up onto the exit ramp at Amicola, by the dam, because I had a line of sight about a half a mile from there to my office window. And so I sat up on the side of the road, had my 4-way flashers going, and I pointed this thing out the window towards the office, and we made it work. So we boxed all that stuff up, went over to Hungary, and climbed up on the roof of these buildings. And I mean, I don't know how many people were out in front of our houses watching us, because they had no idea what we were doing. And so we strapped that thing to the chimney of this one building and drove across the tracks, down to this house, and climbed up through the attic onto the roof of the place, and strapped that antenna there and kind of eyeballed it, pointed it as close as we could, and turned the thing on, and it worked. It was really slow, but
Yeah, so I get this email, and I knew it, and it just goes, wireless rock.
Slowly.
Yeah, no, it went wireless rock. And I was like,
Yeah.
he got it working. That's, you know.
Yeah, we got it working. So, I mean, out of that little project though, you know, they were able to have a Vonage phone, which Vonage was real new technology back then. So now they had a phone that they were able to make calls back to the States for free, which was a huge expense back in the early 2000s. Just a 5-minute call back to the States would just cost a huge amount of money. So yeah, little stuff like that, which is kind of quirky little projects, but I mean, it really spun into an efficient way of these folks being able to survive and live over there.
You know, and we learned some stuff along the way, obviously stretching the limits back then.
Yeah.
I mean, on wireless, you know. I think you had to shoot around one of those pointed, there was some story about
There was a,
some house.
well, it was the railroad track, like I said, it ran between the two buildings, and the railroad company had these poles, electrical poles, running every 30 feet. I mean, why you couldn't stretch it longer, I don't know, but yeah, every 30 feet there's a pole, so we're having to shoot over those poles and all the power that's running through them. It worked. Surprisingly.
When are you going?
We go back 3 weeks from yesterday, August 23rd. I'll put this little plug in for on the tourism side of Hungary and Budapest. Thinking about really great places to go on vacation, Hungary probably isn't one of the things that pops into your mind. But if you're into either history or architecture or the arts, man, it's a really great place to come and spend some time. Where we live is it's uniquely located between a lot of interesting places. I don't often compare Chattanooga to Budapest, but Chattanooga, you can be in Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, Knoxville, all these places in a couple of hours period of time. Same is true with Budapest. We can be in Vienna, Austria in about 2 hours. We can be in Bratislava, Slovakia, capital of Slovakia, which is a gorgeous place, in about 2 hours. Czech Republic, if you're into outdoor sports, kayaking and all that kind of stuff, Czech is a great place to go for outdoor stuff. It's about 4 hours away. Germany is about 6 hours away. I mean, you can drive to all these places in a really short period of time. It's a gorgeous place to come and spend a vacation sometime. And if you do that, we'd love to show you around. Get some good Hungarian food. Greg's coming next year.
Your local personal tour guide.
He's like, really?
Really? All right. Well, thanks for carving out some time today, and
Thanks for
the update on what we're doing there.
We obviously some of the history, and then Greg was there the day we opened, and we actually had my pastor come over and dedicate the business, and we didn't ever see this happening. I'll just tell you, in our wildest dreams, but we regularly support from the business. That was part of what I wanted to do from the beginning, and that's one of the things that and as you guys know, we do a lot of other stuff around here, and I want and I want to do that. I want to have a mix, but this is something really important. So thanks for sharing it with us.
Good.
You're famous.